Hi and welcome to my channel. Okay, so let's start the code. Click start and then look for our Visual Studio 2019. Alright, so it's loading. And then we'll create a new project. So click here. The new project that we will be creating is about a basic counter. Alright, so let's select console app as we are building a console project, and then we'll name this basic counter. Alright, so let's create that. So at the end of this tutorial, we will be building a complete application named as basic counter. So hold on to that, okay? Alright. Alright, looks good. Okay, so before we go to the actual application, let us go first for the fundamentals. Alright? Okay, so let's talk about variables. This is a very fundamental concept because in our program, we will always want to store data, then be able to retrieve that data and do something with it. This is what variable will allow us to do. However, since C# is a strictly or strongly typed language, that means that our variable should have types. So when we are creating or declaring our variables, we should specify what type of data are we trying to store in them. For example, we might want to store numerical data in some variables. And then we might want to store textual data in some other variables. Then there are different types of numerical data such as integers or decimal numbers. We also need variables to able to save more complex structure as well, but we will talk about those little later. So let us create some variables. I will go ahead and say string my text equal hello friend. Now let us go over the formats. First, we have our type. So this is the type for our variable and it says string. String allow us to store textual data, and string is a reserved word, meaning that is a part of the language. If it is misspelled, it would not be recognized, and your program just would run. It would not build. So let us say, if we just remove one letter, see, it is underlining red, meaning that is not being recognized. And another good thing about the IDE is that you get these quick feedbacks, which allows you to fix any errors right there and then. So just bring it back and say string. Now it is recognized and it has to be exactly the way it has written here. So then after that, it comes to the variable name, and this can be anything. This can be what you want, but you want to keep it descriptive as possible, so you could understand what is storing inside. Alright? Then we have our assignment operator. We will go over the operators in our next video, but all you need to know is that it takes the value on the right side and assign it to the variable on the left side. And then we have the actual data that goes inside of the variable. So there you go. Now let us declare another variable. I will say int my number equals 100. So int is another type which allows us to store whole numbers. For example, if I try to say 100.1, which is a floating point, it would not work because the value is not compatible with its type. If I want to store floating point number, then I had to use the appropriate type. And one of the appropriate type would be the double. And I can say another number, 100.1. See, in this case, I have the value compatible with it type, and that is why it works. Let us go ahead and write another one. I would say bool is checked equals true. And bool is a very interesting type because it allows only two types of value, true or false. And another thing is, whenever you're naming bool, you want to keep the name with is. So it is either asking a question or verifying an idea, because that way it is a lot more intuitive. The next one is very interesting. We are going to learn how to get input from a user, and we are going to do that with a pre-written class and a pre-written method that is accessible to us. It is called console readline. So the console is the class and the readline is the method. And we will go over classes and methods later down, but for now, what I want you to know is that this is available to us. And many other methods and classes that pre-written, and we have access to them right once. So this will allow us to get the input from a user. But now, let us store it in a variable. One thing to notice is that whenever we are getting an input from a user, it always comes back as textual data. So what is one way we can store textual data in a variable? Exactly, string data type. So what we can do is we can say string input equals console readline, meaning that the console readline will get the input from the user, then it will save it inside the variable. Let me show you another one. Bar. My variable equals 100. Interesting, right? It just works. What if I do this? Still works. If I do this, it still works. So bar is an implicit type, meaning that you do not explicitly have to specify the type. That is why it is called an implicit type. And it is a very good to know as we are writing more application that it is actually a very useful. So now, let us go ahead and print the values within our variables. We are going to do that using another pre-written method that we have access to called WriteLine, and it is also at the same class called console. We are going to say console WriteLine, and then we are going to say some text. Let me do the same thing for another number. Copy the name very quick. And then I would breakpoint this. So a breakpoint allows us to break the execution flow of the program. Basically what happened is that whenever we run our program, it starts executing statements line by line. And when we breakpoint it, it stops at the current point and shows us the current state of the application. So I am breakpointing at the very beginning, and then I will manually step to each and every statement. Now let us go ahead and click start, and what it will do, it will build the application first, then it will run over. So let us go ahead and do that. And see the breakpoint, it stopped right away, and then I would click step over, which will step over every statement manually. So we will go there and see it shows us the current states, which is my text equals hello friend. So we can see that the variables and their values. Let us go all the way to input. See, stop. That is because it is waiting for input from the user. So I will say, how are you? And see, it went to the next line because I get the input from the user. Then I would print all of the values, and let us open it up. See, it says hello friend. Then here's 100, the number 100.1, which is the another number. True. How are you, which was the input, and then 100.222, which was my variable. Alright. One more thing to note is that there is actually a lot more built-in types that I didn't go over, but the reason is because, number one, it would extremely boring for you to watch me go over every type separately, and I am very sure you already get to the point by the third and fourth one. And the second thing is, I strongly believe it is much important to understand the general concept behind all this than to memorize specific things. So I'm pretty sure you already understood the concept, and since you understood the concept, you can then apply the same thing in your specific situation. So if you need to learn about the rest of the type, you can simply go to Google and then type in MSDN C# built-in types, and it will give you all the built-in types. Now it is very nice because we only know some of them. Double, int, right? And you can click on them. I just need to show you something. So here it says range, so an integer. This is a range of the value that it can hold. So see, if we put anything that is above it, it will break. So let us go check out double real quick. See the range? It is much larger, so it is giving us a lot more precision. So that is actually very good to know if you are running an application that is very scientific and you need to know how large the value should be. But once again, since you know the concept of variable, now you can apply it in your specific situation. And once again, variables are just a way for us to store values and then retrieve them and do something with them afterwards. And in C#, since this is actually strict or strongly typed language, we need to specify types for the variables that we are trying to store. That's all for now, guys. If you have a question, comments, or anything you want me to discuss, please comment it below. And if you like this video, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell for the upcoming videos. Thank you for watching.